Hey folks, so today we're going to be making a simple set of coasters. So I had a bit of scrap that has been building up in my shop for the last few months. So I think this will have been a perfect project for this. So I started with gluing the pieces of scrap together and using clamps to hold everything together. So one thing you pick up very quickly when doing glue ups is to always keep the board raised from the table, either using some scrap boards or polythene. So it's very difficult to get it off the table once the glue dries. So once my glue had dried, I was ready for planing. So I ran both sides of the board on the planer a couple of times just to get it, first of all, the very rough pieces of glue off, and then to get the surfaces as level as I possibly could. Some of the thinner sides were also looking pretty rough, so I ran them a couple of times on the planer, just so that in the end I get as smooth an edge as I could. So next up, I wanted to get the board to the thickness that I wanted my coasters to be, which was about 1.8 centimeters. And in this section, I show you how to set up the machine for the thicknessing function. In a previous video, I go into how to set it up for the planing function. If you're interested, you can check out that in the description. So the way this machine is set up, and also I think as a safety feature, you can't use both the thicknessing function and the planing function at the same time. So you have to use one or the other. And that's why you have to reposition the dust collection module when you want to use the thicknessing function at the top. And when you're using the planing function, the dust collection module is positioned at the bottom. So once the machine is correctly set up, adjust the thickness to the desired, and then happy thicknessing. In my case, 1.8 centimeters. Is thicknessing a word? I wonder. Next up, I set up my table saw and my cross-cut jig. So the idea here was to cut the board into 10 centimeter pieces, and I figured using a stop block would make the process much faster. So I attached a stop block, and it made sure that I get very clean repetitive cuts, so all the pieces will end up being exactly 10 centimeters wide. As you can see here, that fifth piece almost didn't make it. So at this point, I had the bright idea to add some bevels to the coasters. Thought it would be a nice detail and make the pieces look a bit more professional. So I used my planer and put it at an angle of 30 degrees and went around all the edges for the coasters. It was a bit of a tricky cut to make. It was honestly a hit and a miss for some of the pieces. I haven't quite nailed down the proper technique to do this, but I think with more practice, I'll get it down. So finally, doing some finishing touches to the pieces. I did some light sanding with 150 grit sandpaper, so not too rough so that you don't damage the edges. So as a last step, I applied some wood finish on the pieces. I used a piece of cloth to just properly get them oiled. It made the colors really pop, as you can see in the videos, and the textures really came out really nicely. You can actually see a lot of the grain of the wood. So yeah, they were looking really beautiful. Couldn't wait to begin taking the glamour shots for these pieces. I really enjoyed working on them and really liked how they turned out. So here's like a quick sneak view, still at the workshop, and how they were turning out. Finally, the big reveal. So here you can see the coasters in situ, and yeah, really enjoyed building this. It turned out really nicely. So probably I need to figure out how to make a container for them. I can just have them lying around, yeah. So if you enjoy this kind of content, please consider liking and subscribing for new DIY builds. Sasa ni kukimbiza baridi tu na chai moto.